Dame Emma, I'm so fond. Anna girl, you were great and blonde. Welcome to Watching Worst Films, where we are covering our first live, brought to
Mm-hmm.
you, steaming fresh,
Fresh
fresh
off
off
the
the
press.
press,
Mm-hmm.
Razzie winner, 2022's Blonde by Andrew Dominic. I am Jericho Reed, and with me, my co-host, Kyle Szymanski.
Hello,
How you
hello,
doing,
hello.
Kyle?
Yeah, I'm good. Glad to be here.
So this is a little bit different in that we had our first episode where we watched Diana, which was the most recent winner available to us. But this is a mere day old.
Yeah, and this is our third 2022 film after My Son Hunter and Morbius. So we
Yeah,
got our sort of predictions wrong there. But yeah, this is our most recent winner. Could not get any more recent.
they actually announced this on Friday, LA times. Like it was meant to be yesterday, but it's technically 2 days ago.
Yeah.
But like, should we talk about this now? Just the sort of like decreasing production values of the Razzies. How it used to be an actual ceremony, didn't it? Because people
Yeah.
would attend, and then
And I think I've said before, I'm not sure if COVID put the kibosh on that and
yeah,
limited it to or also the decline in relevance and sort of, the internet age. Yeah, it's reduced now to a little YouTube video, barely, a couple of minutes long. There's no fanfare.
I think it was maybe a convenient excuse in terms of it started out just as like a guy in his living room, and then it moved up to where I think they were having like ceremonies at the Sheraton or like
Hmm.
function rooms at hotels. And then obviously the pandemic put the kibosh on that. And then it's just something they've not really returned to. I mean, maybe that's precautionary. Maybe Mr. Razzie is clinically vulnerable and it's like, no, I don't want to be having any
Hmm.
events. Or maybe this is just a convenient excuse of like, this is so irrelevant now. I don't want to book like a hotel suite to not
Absolutely.
invite anyone to.
I think nothing kind of backs that up as well is the winners from this year in general
Yeah,
just shows how out of touch and
yeah,
like you say, irrelevant this it has been. Not that it ever was. Like I'm not defending the
yeah.
old
No,
days,
no, man.
but it's gradually slided into something really just redundant now. But hey ho, we're still here.
For
um,
me, the Razzies really lost their relevancy when they stopped nominating 12-year-olds. That was the beginning of the end for me. Gone were
Absolutely.
the golden days when you could just punch all the children you liked. Children who will have more money than you will ever make in your life, but you get to nominate them for your shitty award. Anyway, so without further ado, Blonde, this is available to watch on you. This is available to watch for you on Netflix. This is a Netflix film. Netflix's second winner, 2 in a row for the streamer. Kyle, what was your experience with this film?
So this is speaking of recent, I've just finished watching this as well for the first
Yeah,
time, literally 10 minutes ago. I think I spoke about it before when we were making our nominations. I love Andrew Dominic. I love his work with Nick Cave. I love Assassination of Jesse James. I just didn't watch this not because of the backlash or any sort of reaction, just because I had no interest in a Marilyn Monroe biopic. Like no matter who, my favorite, John Carpenter could make a Marilyn Monroe biopic, and I'm not going to rush out and watch it. So this was
Kurt
new to me.
Russell as Marilyn.
Every role. Yourself?
So I had seen this film before. I might have seen this on opening day. I saw this in theaters during the
Hmm.
sort of limited release. So I saw this in a cinema in London during the initial run because, like you, big fan of Andrew Dominic, Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, one of my favorite films of all
Oh,
time.
that's the same.
Really, really dig him and what he does. So was really looking forward to this. And so I had seen it last year and then watched it again last night, this morning for this. So we can't do our production budget things because Netflix is a bit
Yeah.
sort of like closed box on those things. So who knows how this did. Mixed reviews, shall we say?
Yeah, I did look that up. It's at 46% on Rotten Tomatoes or something around that. Every sort of, a collection of reviews or critical reception, it's all fit Marmite. It's 5 out of 10, 50% through the board, IMDb. It's a very divisive film. And it's also extreme reactions as well, is what I noticed.
Yeah.
It's either beloved and applauded or it's hated and it's misogynistic film. So yeah, it's one of our most divided films I think we've ever going to watch for the audience reception anyway.
Yeah, it's that thing that you always speak about is you'd rather watch a film that gets the 5-star reviews and the 1-star reviews because you know at least it's doing something, and
Hmm.
whether that gels with you, at least that like there's something going on than just watching, like, I don't know, like a 3-star Marvel movie or whatever.
100%.
Okay, so because this is another weird time zone, or due to the sequence of episodes being released, I think this is our first weird time zone episode. Time traveling all over the place. We kind of watch this out of sync, so
Yeah,
let's just get into it. Kyle, did you enjoy this film?
yeah, I really did.
Great.
I it's one of I think it was something I was going to say. I was thinking it's a very hard film to beat by beat through. Like, we can't
Yeah.
scene by scene this.
No.
It's also, nearly 3 hours long, so I don't want to give a 12-hour episode discussing
No.
it.
No.
I really did enjoy it though. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. Just kind of thinking, the product, like Andrew Dominic's direction, Anna de Armas's performance, the soundtrack, some of the technical production values, just absolutely loved. A lot of familiarity with Assassination as well, and sort
Yeah.
of how he directs and how the film is made and presented. So, I can nitpick it, of course I can, but I really did enjoy it. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad to have watched it. I wouldn't have watched it as well if it wasn't for, or I would have eventually, but like I'm glad to have watched it because of this.
We perhaps should have mentioned it earlier, but of course, on our Razzie predictions episode, we went through and tried to predict the winners, and we'll be dealing with that more in the second half. But
Mhm.
I went back and listened to this, sort of skipped through the episode just because I didn't write down what we actually predicted. So I skipped through to find what we said. And you said, you're like, I'm gonna watch Blonde, like, might watch it tomorrow. I was like, don't watch it tomorrow, because if it wins and we have to watch it, you won't want to watch it
Well,
twice.
yeah,
So
I mean,
um,
again, that's sort of the length of it as well. It's ran right up before recording. It's
yeah.
taken up my day as well. So like, but that's okay. I'm spoiled by shorter movies these days, and especially on
Yeah.
Razzies, we watch so many 90 minutes. I'm okay. If I hated this film, the length would have really affected me. But
Yeah.
no, because I enjoyed it, and I assume you've enjoyed it too since you've seen it twice.
Yeah, so I watched it sort of like, because it came out so quickly, I watched it almost like pre-backlash, or I guess I don't really like looking up reviews or reading about films until I've actually seen them, lest they
Hmm.
color my judgment of it. So I came out of it thinking I didn't think it was perfect. There were like I went into it being like there are some things like I love about this film, but I can kind of see why people don't like it, and it's almost like in making it something so like archetypical, I can see how that could
Hmm.
read as like offensively shallow to some people.
Hmm.
And the whole like Joyce Carol Oates, My Week with Pro-Life Marilyn, I can see how that would rub people up the wrong way, but I came out of it like way more positive, and then just sort of like got sucked into the Blonde discourse where I was
Hmm.
like, am I a misogynist for liking this film? Like, am I just everybody like, this film's the worst movie ever made, this is hideous, this is horrendous, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
So I kind of doubted myself, being like, maybe this is something like Inchin where I just don't know the context, or maybe I don't
Mm.
know. I was like, I kind of became a little bit quieter in my love for Blonde, and then I watched it again, and I was like, nope, straight up banger.
Yeah.
It's great.
I mean, I did think that when I was watching it. If it wasn't a direct biopic, if it was thinly veiled, if it was The
Yeah,
Master or something, like you're
yeah,
picking pieces, I don't think it would have got the backlash.
no,
I do
mm-mm.
remember, like, I don't know if it, obviously retrospectively, it's totally changed, but when Assassination of Jesse James came out, there was backlash against that because,
Wow.
well, it's not, Jesse James, it's not
Yeah,
the gun shooting Wild West film you
yeah.
expect. It's a deconstruction of characters and sort of the myth
Exactly. It's
and
the same
stuff.
thing as Marilyn. He's like unpicking myths of like he's unpicking American cultural myths, and
Hmm.
like the cowboy and the sort of like abused starlet are like two of the sort of like defining
Hmm.
sort of cultural icons. Yeah, like it's just one of those things where I'm like, basically all of the criticism, like, this is a weird movie for sure,
Yeah.
but I think so much of the criticism amounts to like, in depicting something, you're endorsing it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, we've speculated about our narrative where Mr. Razzie went hard for this film in almost every category apart from Ana de Armas.
Hmm.
And we're like, is he buying into like, oh, she was tricked and deceived and taken advantage of because she's just a poor little, like, she is Marilyn,
Hmm.
and bad man made bad movie and tricked her into giving a great performance in it. So yeah, without further ado, should we try and work through the film and talk about whatever we want to talk about?
Yeah, I think the only last thing I was going to say, just kind of on that topic, was I got a lot of vibes and I felt very similar connections to Mulholland Drive.
Yeah,
So, like, obviously, there's a lot of similarities and certain how it portrays the machine of Hollywood and
yeah.
blonde leads. And I remember, like I've heard people, like call like Lynch misogynistic in that film in
Yeah,
particular, and that Watts was, tricked in or whatever. And
yeah,
they come out and defend it, and it's film, it's art, get off your high horse. And I don't see that. So I don't know if this is a reflection on me as a white Scotsman, but like I didn't pick. I mean, it's a depressing watch. It isn't fun, um,
no,
but I didn't pick up on sort of the heavy criticisms, and maybe that's just because I come from fucking exploitation Italian cinema and all this shit, and
yeah.
Rambo. So like I I don't always notice it. So yeah, I just wanted to pop because that was something that was going through my head the entire time watching it. I was like, oh, this reminds me of Mulholland Drive meets Assassination of Jesse James is how I would describe it. I would also like to say, if for the first time maybe in this podcast, I would say stop here and watch it if you don't want to hear about it, because
Yeah.
I actually strongly recommend it. It's probably going to be one of the few films I would say watch it for yourselves rather than listen to opinions first, like you just said. So pause and then come back and hear what we had to like talk about, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great shout because I guess a general film note is like, this is for me like the best Razzie winner. Like, Indecent Proposal is fun and sort of has like potential, but it's not an overall, like, I
No,
don't think that's like a great work of art. Whereas this genuinely
yeah,
emotionally
genuinely,
affected
yeah,
me
a
and
hundred
like
percent.
is just like a sort of weird film that I'm still unpacking some of the choices, but this is genuinely like a work of art in the way
Hmm.
that like Dirty Love is not. So yeah, which is going to result in a weird episode for us. I think you're
Yeah,
going to learn why we talk about bad movies as opposed to good ones, because I don't have a huge amount to say. My notes aren't particularly
no,
thorough.
they're not. I mean, there's again, it's recent in my head, so there's bits I want to talk about. Obviously, we can talk about some of the things I didn't like or I thought as missteps. But that again, I just want to say that like, I feel like a lot of it's nitpicking to come away from
Yeah.
like Swept Away and some genuine shit.
Oh God, yeah.
I where I can talk about it for hours. I don't want to in a way. Again, that's a strange thing to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, no, I feel the same. I don't want to try and like make jokes about this film. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I can rip it apart, and I also don't want to spiral off into like, what if Paul Thomas Anderson directed this? Yeah, maybe that's just like, I don't know, everyone's saying this is like hugely misogynistic. It's like, go watch Swept Away and then come back and
Yeah.
talk to me about that. Go back and watch the revelry with which Madonna is slapped around on that beach and then compare that to like the horror of like Joe DiMaggio and the domestic
Hmm.
abuse scenes in this film. And then we can look at like whether this film hates women.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so moving on. First note I have, Daddy, because that's the sort of framing thing of the
Hmm.
film. We start off with child Marilyn and her mother.
Well, that's my first note is we open with Mommy Dearest. I was like, oh, it's been a while since we've seen some good old fashioned child abuse in this show.
Yeah, yeah.
Bringing it around, yeah. But we open. So it's with Marilyn Monroe's whose name I've forgotten the name of her mother already, but showing the picture on the wall.
Not important, Kyle. It's intentional. We're dealing with
Yeah,
archetypes. They're baseball players. They're presidents.
yeah,
Like, it's
exactly.
not us being forgettable. It's just mother. Mike
um,
Pence, Mrs. Pence is in this, and mother is telling Norma Jean where she came from.
yeah, that's your daddy. That's
Again, this is going to be a little glimpse into the future, but our next episode, Striptease, is a high point in daddy cinema. So,
yeah.
so she is with her mentally unwell mother,
Hmm.
who is shows her a photo of like a big Hollywood guy. He's like, "That's your daddy," and like, I can't remember exactly what she says.
I
It's just
mean,
kind of like a
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to go through beat by beat. Basically, it opens with, showing her mother being unwell.
yeah,
I read this is when I first know. This is where I really got into it. Is a fire breaks out on the neighborhood in Hollywood,
yeah,
and I thought it was beautiful, like so beautifully shot, and them driving through. I was like almost forgot Andrew Dominic directed this. I forgot this was going to be a work of art and not child abuse or just abuse for 3 hours. And she gets stopped by the police, and I love that scene when she's discussing with the police officer about, she goes from anger and denial to like submissive and begging within like a minute of a really good performance. I just, yeah, that's like right off the bat, and then I guess it's like 5-10 minutes in already. I was hooked. I was like, okay, now you've got me. This is going to be interesting at the very least.
that I have the same thing written down, and that's the halfway point of my notes, just to indicate how little I took. Was by the five way mark, I'd reached half of what I'd say, which was yeah. There's like a fire in the Hollywood Hills. We have the Hollywoodland sign in the background, and the way it's shot with the car driving through fire and the sort of ash flying
Mhm.
around, like this sort of car being consumed by fire driving through hell, and you've got the Nick Cave and Warren Ellis score.
Yeah, which I have to butt in now. Like, massive Nick Cave fan over here, and
Yeah,
I have grown to love like the Warren Ellis. I'm a Bad Seeds boy. I'll always be a Bad Seeds boy. But sort of the assassination onwards, the Warren Ellis scores. As soon as like the sort of the voices and the sound were coming in, that's the second thing they got. So you've got me on a beautiful visual scale, and now look on an oral scale. I am 100% in. Yeah, like I'm all aboard, and it is. I think it's a magnificent score, like throughout.
yeah,
I know there's bits from Ghosty, and I recognized certain like things from other albums, from Bad Seed stuff, and I think from Carnage as well, maybe. But wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. And it fit, and it's not throughout the whole film either. There's real music and there's real songs throughout, but I absolutely adored it.
yeah. I'm not as big of a Nick Cave fan. Like I love his scores, but I don't know too much about his. He's a bit hit and miss for me with his actual music, and so this was a departure in terms of like it's the more sort of ambient synth
Mhm.
ethereal kind of thing than Jesse James, obviously. But yeah, no, I thought this score was amazing. Yeah, way more sort of like you're getting sort of Carnage, Skeleton Tree kind of.
Which all links with Andrew Dominic as well. Nick Cave's
Yeah,
son passing, and their great work and stuff together. Yeah, like it really just it's a beautiful relationship between a director and a composer that is very rare, and seem to be in sync as well. And despite
yeah,
the films they do, like this is different than Assassination. This isn't a
for
western or a
sure.
neo
Yeah,
western. Yeah, I never expected it to fit. I just almost forgot Nick Cave was doing it, and
yeah,
was blown away
yeah.
already. Yeah, 5 minutes in.
Yeah, this is where we can segue off into talk about Gladiator 2 if we're trying to get into more
Can't wait.
Razzie-worthy territory. But no, my main note there is just I'm like, how can you possibly think this is the worst film of the year?
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
like you are a moron if
yeah.
you're watching this and you're thinking like this is worse than Morbius.
So there was
You have no brain.
That's exactly my same thought. It's a few minutes later when Norma asks her mum about her dad or where's her father, and her mum
Yeah,
flips out and tries to drown her in the bath. And I was tense. I was like visually the way it was shot and like the perspectives and the framing and turning black and white, jumping between color and things. I was like, how the fuck is this worse than Morbius? How in any
yeah,
way like how is Jurassic Park or Jurassic World 10 or whatever the fuck we're on now worse than this? And I was getting angry. I really was getting instantly
yeah,
because it is. I understand the divisiveness, and I know it's going to be divisive. I know, like right off the bat, before Anna de Armas is on screen, I know this is going to be a divisive film, even in this early stage. How is any world is this again, this is a putting Mulholland Drive and the Razzies in 2001 or something. This is insanity. And I've never really strongly disagreed right off the bat with any film. Like, because,
yeah.
I love Rambo too, but I'm not gonna die for it, you know. But
Yeah, yeah.
this strongly, like I said, I would rather watch something with some sort of artistic merit to it or something different, some passion and skill behind it than just a cookie cutter Marvel. I mean, fucking Black Adam's not even here or nominated, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like.
Christ.
And I think it was coming off like so. My most recent theater experience, what I've said to you, was Ant-Man and Hulk. Not I was going to
Oh,
say in the
no,
Hulkamania, the
I don't think we
Quantumania.
have covered this.
Ah, right.
No.
Jesus. So yeah, like in terms of other than popping for Bill Murray sitting down and a couple of little things, I've never seen such as an industry machine produced soulless
Yeah.
film, and I've just how the and I don't want to say like it's direct Marvel. I'm not saying it's just cape hero films, but like Jurassic World and all these
Yeah,
just
it's an industry
soulless.
like nostalgia where they're like, hey, there's this thing you've seen before,
Hmm.
just relying on like it's just that cynicism of like their marketing exercises. They're just like, we need to push people's buttons to get them in the theater, and once they're there, we've got them. So it doesn't really matter the quality of the product.
100%.
And yeah, this is just like absolute madness, which like, and this is sort of like, I don't know, this is relatively uncharted waters for the Razzies of like this isn't incompetent. Like you might disagree with it, you might like
Oh yeah, you can be
take
offended.
issue
You
with
could take
yeah,
issue
yeah.
with it. You can. There's certain things you can pick out. Like I say, it's not a perfect film. I don't think anyone would really say it's. No one would say it's better than Assassination. But I mean, in terms of just on a technical level, and throughout, I'm saying this from music to cinematography to editing to direction to performances and acting, like it's high, high, high marks all the way
Yeah.
throughout. To say again, what is your like scale? Like what's your rational reasoning? Like what's your excuse for like not only nominating it but make picking it as a winner other than to say, bless you, other than to cash in, other than to get the clicks and
Yeah,
insanity.
it's just the dying of the light as what friend of the show Darren Doan was speaking about in terms of like the internet has spread like the analogy he used of like it's just this record store where you're over and you can look at your own things and find the stuff that's cool to you and enjoy that, and no one leans over and goes like that band sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Of like this is just the end of the Razzies in terms of like they're going for this, which is just clearly nonsensical and
Yeah,
just back like it ends up backfiring and just showing what a farce the entire
because
like ceremony is.
and that's just like,
Because
are
like
they scared of like picking these, like I say, these industry soulless products now because they weren't before with Transformers and he's
yeah,
picked it
yeah,
before. But you're telling me this is a worse film than like the fucking Bubble. You're telling me
yeah,
this is
exactly.
like get an actual fucking grip. It's
Which like
insane.
because the Razzies have certainly gone for like we've spoken about the moral value in the past, but like the Razzies, not to say that the Razzies have ever like morality and sort of like objecting to depictions of things has always been a part of the Razzies, but this is something where it's only on the basis of that because the craft is like impeccable.
Which is
So
what surprised me. I do not know the name of the film, but the latest Harry Potter film, the
oh,
spin-off
Fantastic
one,
Beasts
that's the one.
and
I thought that would have been.
Crimes of Secrets of Someone. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it's called. I've not seen it, so I can't comment on it. But I assume that is another industry produced
Yeah,
soulless film, and then you have
yeah.
the morality of, as I say, Tolkien, and you have the morality of jumping on, the author as well. And I thought, you're getting your cake and eating it too there. And then you would have got the attention and you'd have got the clickbaits, and everyone would have went happy. But no, I've never. I really want to see his updated, expanded book, and I want to see him explain his way out of this one.
Justify this. Yeah.
Just yeah.
Well, yeah. That's the thing is like throughout cinema there are plenty of movies that you could go for that are sort of equally as like if you're gonna go into this from like a pearl clutching Helen Lovejoy point of view, then there are plenty of other films that you could approach the same way. Like I'm just imagining Mr. Razzie nominating like I Spit on Your Grave or like Clint Eastwood films, like I
Yeah.
don't know, just sort of reactionary. Like God help him when he finds out about like what's the name, like Craig Sowler, the guy that does like Bone Tomahawk and Dragged
Oh
Across
yeah, yeah.
Concrete, when Mr. Razzie hears about him.
But
Although they
they
have
never.
nominated Dragged Across
Yeah,
Concrete.
yeah.
Like the closest I would say for this film is probably Mother.
Okay.
Like the comparison between Aronofsky's Mother and Blonde, I think that this is the closest of him just not liking what the film is doing
Hmm.
and thinking that means it's bad.
But the mother didn't sweep the Razzies.
No, no.
He still had the sense to not pick it his worst film. He's not.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you'd nominated Blonde, that's kind of enough. But to hold it up and to be like, this is worse than Morbius, this is worse than Pinocchio.
Yeah, if you had
This
your
is
own
like,
moral category, most
yeah,
egregious, offensive film or something.
crime against women, whatever.
Yeah,
The Anna
then
de Armas Come to My Hotel Room award for.
I totally agree with you 100% there. So,
So yeah, I really don't have anything to say. So that was my first note was Daddy. So that's framed with that. This is sort of the thing that drives. This is like daddy issues, the film, because that's the sort of like, and not to say that this was the driving factor behind the real life Marilyn's life, but in the movie, Marilyn's entire life is defined by the absence of her father, because she gets shown this photo of like, it's basically Joker.
yeah.
It's like your dad, Thomas Wayne, has left you, but like he's gonna come back one of these days. Or it's like the Nelson Muntz from The Simpsons of like he went out for a pack of cigarettes and he's. But so that's the instigator, and I can't remember the first time it occurs. But Daddy writes to Marilyn, and so that's the sort of through line through the movie is she has interactions with various men.
It's what keeps her going as well. Like,
Yeah.
So when she gets these letters from her dad, who's not turned spoilers, isn't her dad, is what kind of like picks her up in the moments of darkness and when she's
Yeah.
going through all, whether it be like criticisms or sexual abuse or being spit out by this or that or treated badly. It's sort of a glimmer of hope. It is literally what she's hanging. It is daddy issues, the movie. I mean, you're right there. So like I must admit, so like my next thought was from when we meet Anna de Armas and when child Norma becomes Marlon. It's quick. Like we know she's a pin-up, she's a model, and it's quick, and it's like it's a very rapid change from childhood to actual Marilyn Monroe, the facade character.
Yeah.
And I've really appreciated that because that's, to me, like the director telling me that this is more about the myth and more about the mask and less about the human behind it, because that's not the point of the film. So I really like that.
Well, we get so many like hand-holding biopics, even this year with like I kind of enjoy Elvis, but no one can deny Elvis is guilty of the Dewey Cox factor of like Elvis needs to think about his entire life before he comes on stage, where everything is cause and effect of Elvis hears a black person sing on the radio and is like, you know what, that's a pretty good sound. What if a white boy like me would sing like that? That'd be pretty good, wouldn't it? Or like it's the Tom Hanks. He's what? Like it's that, and Blonde never handholds you with that. I guess because it does so much handholding with like daddy. Every relationship with a man is trying to replace the relationship she never had with her dad, and men are not good, so this is exploitative and whatever. But like we don't get the superhero origin of her deciding to change the name of. Change her name to Marilyn. We just get this sort of like ethereal Nick Cave we're drifting through. She's a child, and then she's doing like sort of pin-up shoots and commercial modeling, and then she gets raped by Daryl Zanuck, isn't it?
Some good Hollywood producer. Again,
yeah, they don't get into.
Yeah,
hello, Marilyn. I'm Daryl Zanuck, producer of president of MGM, and we're gonna have unconsensual sex.
I'm not a golden age or 40s, 50s. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm pretty rare. And it's not that I dislike. I mean, I have seen lots of films. I'm not an expert.
Well, when Jack Lemmon crops up, you're like, hey, it's old Gil from The Simpsons. But
so and that's another thing as well. I don't actually know much about Marilyn Monroe. I've seen Some Like It Hot. I've seen, and I've seen that in media studies, and I've seen the Misfits, their last film, just
Yeah.
because the band the Misfits took their name from it, and I thought, oh,
Oh,
must
really?
be a,
Okay,
must
yeah.
be a good horror film. No, it's not, but it's a good film. So other
Yeah.
than those two films, I'm only aware with like the zeitgeist, the image, the myth, and the icon of Marilyn. And pop culture references. So a lot of the stuff I didn't know I didn't know Chaplin had a kid, that wasn't Uga
Well,
Chaplin or
yeah, I
whatever.
was gonna say, I was like, he clearly had to have a kid because
Yeah.
his descendant is in Game of Thrones. So,
Um,
um,
but I didn't know there was a junior, or I didn't know if that was the relation. I didn't know if he did anything.
you
I think,
know, you know that's Marilyn is in like a throuple with Charlie
yeah,
Chaplin Jr. and you know the other one like Edward G. Robinson
Edward
Jr.
G. Robson, yeah, Eddie in the
Yeah,
film.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, so just to go back to her being raped by the Hollywood executive, like this is something where we're saying like watch the film, but also like if you're all sensitive to abuse, then don't watch
yeah,
the
I
film because this is
100% that.
not a fun like this will not be it's not a fun watch by
It's
any
not,
circumstances. But we've got rape, we've got abortion, we've got like violence, and that's pretty much
and it's consistent and
all
it's
you
heavy
have.
through. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's heavy throughout the whole film.
Yeah, there's no like, I'll just head out for 5 minutes
There
and
is
miss that scene and come back in. It's
there's
like, no, you're going
literally
to be out
one.
for 2.5 hours at a 240
Yeah,
runtime.
there's one scene in the whole film that is nice and upbeat when she's spoilers jumping ahead, but when she's with Arthur Miller and they move
Yeah,
and they're on holiday and she's
yeah,
happy and he's happy and
yeah.
you're just like it's like
There's
oh this
that
is such a brief.
fleeting glimpse.
It's the only time throughout the film where I wasn't, and I mean this in a positive way, but I wasn't miserable
Yeah,
because it is a hard watch. It isn't. It's uncomfortable. It's not not a joyful. It's not Elvis or something. Like I say, it's not
yeah,
Bohemian
yeah,
Rhapsody. It's not any of these
yeah,
biopics. It's a
yeah.
unflinching abuse.
Which is fascinating to me because we know how like a few years ago Mr. Razzie like came out swinging against the like a predatory Hollywood whatever. I was like, this is it.
This is
This
it. Yeah.
movie is like this movie is making that point far more saliently than you can with your stupid little
It's
award.
exactly what I was thinking.
The reason like it deals so loosely and with so many archetypes is because it's not strictly Marilyn's story. It's like the universal story of a fundamentally predatory, sexist industry.
And that's what I was saying. This film could have not been a biopic, and
Yeah,
could have been really, if you just had a slight
yeah,
change, and like
yeah,
thinly veiled, and just like I said, change some names, cover them up. The
yeah,
master basically, just
yeah,
muddle
yeah,
up, and
exactly.
and
Yeah.
you'll get the point across. Yeah, we're always not going to come back to Anderson, but will in that time.
Let the record show it was Kyle who invoked Paul Thomas Anderson and not me. Yeah. So just get through this, I guess.
Mhm.
So there's the song. I can't remember what it's called. Every girl needs a daddy. Could my
Yeah.
daddy be you or whatever?
Mhm.
And so my note was daddy drinking game, where we're on separate continents, so we watch this separately. But this would be another one like Mommy Dearest, where you're
The
trying
daddy
to
dearest essentially, isn't it? Just
yeah
like every time that it says daddy, and yeah, like it's weird as well. Like even like I say, when she's with Arthur Miller and that's happier time, it says it in such a casual way as well. Like there's not always like the sexual connotations at times. Sometimes it just
no
comes out.
yeah
But I guess it's like she's a troubled person and she's
yeah
deep rooted. It's like every father figure she attaches herself to either rapes or discards her or just beats her or like so like
yeah.
I don't know, it's good.
I my next quote is Daddy, you won't ever write about me, will you? Which is a dialogue from the film of she sees that Arthur Miller has typed that out
Mhm.
because he's transcribed like a conversation they had about how he won't ever write about their conversations. Um, and yeah, so I guess maybe we zip through the key relationships.
Yeah.
So she's with Edward G. Robinson Jr. and Charlie Chaplin Jr.
Hmm.
And
Which
she,
I enjoy. Like I read because again I don't know anything. I don't know if this is true. I don't know what any of this is true because it's just a movie to me. But I
yeah,
really enjoyed their little triangle
yeah,
polyamorous journey. I
uh,
really appreciate like the artistic choices in their sex scene as well.
yeah,
The screen like warps and their bodies all like move. It's again we're coming from so much bloody erotic thrillers that are so like
yeah,
or sexless films as well that are just weird. I was like, well,
yeah,
that's a nice twist, and it had a nice
yeah.
transition. Literally, I get it's heavy-handed into the waterfall as well. I really like that, and I was like, oh, I expected a lot more lowbrow. Again, I don't know why it's Andrew
Yeah.
Dominic. I shouldn't have, but I expected it just because of the reaction that it was going to be a lot like tasteless, a lot more. Where yeah,
Yeah.
so I actually was rooting for them as a trouble or whatever you'd call it.
No, exactly. That's kind of like the like before it's sort of lulling you in where there is like a sort of like innocence to
Hmm.
that relationship that she never kind of recaptures of like there's an egalitarianism and neither of them are trying to exploit her or use her.
Because they're one of they're the few that are not, and I like them as because they're both juniors, famous Hollywood actors, and I like how they
Danny
feel.
DeVito and Arnie are like, come with me, Marilyn. Come with me if you want to live.
Again, they've also probably been through the ringer in their own way, probably in worse ways. Especially if
Yeah.
they're like in a sort of gay way as well from Eddie and stuff. They probably have been abused, but we don't need to see it. And I just like their
Yeah.
connection. They also had good chemistry as well, all three of them.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
I was really rooting for them at that part.
So there she becomes pregnant
Mhm.
from
Chaplin's kid,
Chaplin,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And so she goes to have an abortion
I
and then
like how Chaplin and Eddie are cool with it as well. They're
yeah,
like, yeah, have a baby, like,
yeah,
why not? We'll be like the take and then I like from the scene when they're driving down Hollywood as well, and
yeah,
it's cool. It's a nice shot, black and white, and they're all smoking and looking, like a cool 40 stars, and to show her the big
yeah,
blow up image of Marlon. And I was
yeah,
like, because at that time I was like, she's gonna, possibly get an abortion or something out of fear that her career, I thought it was gonna take that
yeah,
route
yeah.
at first, but she doesn't. She goes to visit her mother, who is not doing well.
She's been institutionalized in the years
She does. What
since.
year is this? She's asking, how do we travel here and stuff like. It was really well portrayed as well. It was really grim, but I liked it, and
Yeah.
that's like the realization. Why Marlon doesn't want to have the child is because she's fearful that it's hereditary as well, and
Yeah, like it's a cyclical whether it's genetic, whether it's nature nurture, but she's like just I don't want my child to sort of have the experience I had of
mhm,
having a mentally unwell mother that tries to drown you of like it's the fear of repeating the past.
100%.
And so she goes for the abortion and then at the last minute kind of decides like no, hang on, wait, this is the
Well, it's
wrong.
because because she's quite far gone. She has
Yeah.
a bump or a swell, and so it is a later procedure.
Yeah.
It's not quite Mexican, level of we do it quick and nasty, but it is very much like we pick you up the next day. And she contacts the doctors, and she doesn't get time to think about it. She's made a decision, and that decision's happening now. Like
Yeah.
unfortunately, and when she does want to stop. The anesthesia has already been put in her. She's already, Mulholland driving her way out. And I thought it was very effective as well.
Yeah.
Harrowing as well. And again, like it's set up so nice that we've already seen child abuse producing
Yeah.
rape, and now we've seen sort of this discomfort in abortion. And I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, so this is maybe where we should address just the more sort of like controversial artistic swings, which is this is where we first get this sort of like in utero shot, don't we? Of like we see the fetus
Hmm.
and we get like POV vaginal canal shots as
Yes.
the abortion is happening. And so yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're a boomer hack, then you might not like anything which breaks up the conventional
Hmm.
structure, and it is weird for sure. And I'm
It
not
is weird.
entirely sure
But I also put that down to
why he
the
does
drug.
it,
I
but
thought it was because of the anesthesia she was on as well. You know,
yeah, it's trippy, and
she's
it's
drugged
like,
up, so we're getting drugged up along with our central
yeah,
protagonist. I didn't think it was weird to be weird. Just like I was saying, even with
no,
this
no, for
sex
sure,
in the threesome sex scene, I didn't think it was oddly picked that way out of Justin
no,
to do it. Is because well, it is weird, for a young
yeah.
girl to be like sucked into this, and every sort of like artistic choice was relevant to the scene.
Yeah, it's a kind of, it's again to go back to our favorite buzzword from I Know Who Killed Me. It's that sort of Lynchian dreamscape of like, if you're on the edge of consciousness, then like how do you visualize thoughts in a visual medium?
Yeah.
Like you can do the hack sort of like voiceover of like the Homer Simpson like, I know you can read my thoughts, boy. Meow 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 meow. Or you can sort of do it in a trippy visual
Yeah.
attempting to communicate
And
through images thing.
it's not out of left field either. We've seen enough
No,
sort of unique artistic choices that it doesn't hit you in the face. It doesn't come in and be like,
no,
oh well, this I didn't expect this. I've just
no. It
seen
fits stylistically
yeah,
with the
I just
film.
seen bodies get warped. Like again, that Lynchian effect,
Yeah,
and it all fits the
yeah,
context. Yeah, I was really like I thought it was well done,
yeah,
and I know some of the controversy around like the abortion stuff, and later on as well with the fetus. But again, it's also trying to put yourself into 1940s, and the
yeah.
times are not. It's not a 2023 like current piece. It's I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it certainly didn't prove the stumbling block for me, a man who has not had an abortion. But like, it wasn't a stumbling block for me. It just seems like it's a big thing to mention because so many reviews just like reduce it to like, oh, the fetus movie and whatever. So it's hard. Like that is the elephant in the room of you
It
have to
is, and
talk
it
about
is.
like the weirder. Yeah,
But again, you've seen, everyone's seen much, much worse.
yeah,
Either in like deliberately insensitive or ignorantly insensitive that are radical as well. This isn't that. I was sort of knowing some of the criticism. Obviously, if you've got personal experiences, like I said, it's a hard watch. If this is not a film deal with like trauma and abuse and stuff, then don't watch it. But I don't want to say I'm hardened or I'm like too desensitive.
desensitized.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
maybe I am, but I don't think that. I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
discussion for other people.
Yeah, yeah. So leaping on, that relationship kind of crumbles, and she ends up with Joe DiMaggio, played by Bobby Cannavale,
Hmm.
and that's just physical abuse, pretty
It's just
much.
physical
In
abuse.
like
He doesn't
he,
like her being Marilyn Monroe basically, or being the pin-up glamorized model. He's jealous as
yeah,
well. His career's come to the end. He's retiring. He's on his way out. His star's fading. He's not the hero that she said he was when they first met.
yeah,
He's so he takes it. He physically beats her. He's very violent with her. He gets set off even more when Chaplin Jr. and Eddie send show him photos of. Uh,
yeah. They do a revenge porn,
yeah, they do
because
revenge,
he's kind of,
which was a good,
he's kind.
which was a good part for me as well because then suddenly I know that these two lads aren't to be rooted for. They do have a darker
No, they're
side.
not the, yeah,
Um,
they're not the sort of like innocent cherubs that they're portrayed as
exactly. Like that's
earlier.
good storytelling
Um,
to me.
Yeah, exactly. Complicated characters. Yeah, because like that's sort of like defined by like the sort of like openness and freedom that she had with like the two of them is
Yep.
sort of contrasted by DiMaggio being like intensely jealous,
Hmm.
wanting to control her, and just being like, I don't like the way like people look at you. I don't like how you represent yourself. Like this is a disgrace. Like you're doing a picture with some wild guy. I bet his sets are pretty wild. He's gonna upskirt whatever. Like
Yeah.
your skirt's gonna be blown up in the subway. Great. Like no. And so yeah, he just is constantly lashing out verbally and physically, and sort of like demanding, trying to control her career of
Hmm.
like dating. Like I don't know how much of her sort of like legacy as a sex symbol occurred after her death, but I think like a healthy amount of it was culturally at the time. It's
Yeah.
just like dating a sex symbol and being like, hang on, wait, people want to have sex with you. This, I didn't agree to this. This wasn't the terms and conditions. Like, fuck off. You're gonna
Yeah.
start dressing like a nun now. So yeah, it's just violence. He
It's
just
just
slaps the shit
violence.
out of her. And then we move on to playwright Arthur Miller.
Mhm.
And so this is maybe where I'm like I don't know, I found this film, there's a middle section of the film where I was just like emotionally wrapped up, and I was like, oh, do I relate too much to Marilyn? Do I just see myself as like a little sort of like poor little actor who just wants to be liked and just
Mhm.
wants to create, and instead I'm too fragile for this world. Because I really like the acting scenes in this. This just
Yeah.
it sort of deals with the show business side of things in a good, subtle, genuine way. And like she's dismissed earlier on shortly after being raped by some guy who's like, oh, you know what, like you see this all the time, like damaged people who just want to use acting as therapy, and like she's not gonna go anywhere.
Mhm.
But the Magda scene is she's like, I'm gonna go off to New York because I want to become like a real sort of like respected theater
Mhm.
actor rather than like the pictures. And her discussion with Arthur Miller about Magda, he's looking for like the character in his play, and they just sort of have this like she like auditions whatever, and everyone else is kind of like, yeah, and Arthur Miller's not convinced, and then they have this conversation, and she sort of like
Just she knows her shit
opens up.
basically. Yeah,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
she
Like,
like dissects like, oh, this is
yeah,
what Magda is, and this is who she is, and whatever.
and talked about how she could relate to the character as well. And
Yeah,
yeah, like I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the start and end of like the Arthur Miller plot line.
yeah,
I really enjoyed it. I thought, like you said, the using acting as therapy. It's Barry, the TV show. I've
yeah.
seen it done so many times. I've seen it done well, and
it,
I
it, it's it's
it's
every
everything.
acting
Yeah,
class.
it
There's
is.
always like someone who just like doesn't understand and is like, oh, I'm just gonna like exist on like a psychological precipice where like that's a healthy way to live, is just don't resolve any of your emotional issues, and
Mhm.
then just like open them up in acting class of someone who's completely unqualified. So it's like, I don't know, it is like this movie does capture that weird thing of like acting sort of inherently is a weird profession where you're kind of relying on being like never being too far from sort of opening like a box of madness, but there are certainly some people who do
Mhm.
it in a far more unhealthy way than others.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that's what's going on there with Arthur Miller. And then she becomes pregnant again,
Mhm.
and she has a miscarriage while bringing like a tray of drinks to
Bringing
someone
some
on the
snacks on
beach.
the beach. Yeah. Trips
Yeah,
involved. Really, really well done as well. Like
yeah,
the sound
intensely
edit.
traumatic.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
sound editing as well, just for like the impact. You as the audience know
yeah,
instantly, like, oh shit. And that was, again, I
yeah,
mean, talked about the sound design of this film is so well done. And
yeah,
that even without it, you could have cut away and just kept that sound effect, and I would have known
yeah,
exactly. So big 10 out of 10s there for just. Ooh, also at this point as well, I am like, oh fucking Jesus Christ, this is a tough watch. This
yeah,
was
yeah.
probably the point,
Um,
like because like after the miscarriage, when she starts to unravel a little bit in her personal and professional life, the distance with Arthur Miller, sort of her disagreements on set. I think that's Some Like It Hot, is it? She's doing at that time.
yeah, yeah. So that's something that I want to address, where this is the I want to be loved by you scene, where I think they might use that as like the sort of link in the editing of that playing as she's lying on the beach, and you see like Arthur Miller runs
Yeah,
over to her, and then sort of like paparazzi come
yeah,
in, and they use that, like paparazzi appear on the beach, and that kind of motivates the cut to then she's like on a red carpet or
yeah.
whatever, and just have
Because
this like,
now she's fully Marilyn Monroe. That's like full escapism into the Norma Jean part of her miscarried as well,
yeah,
and I thought that was so devastating as well. Because that last possible chance of happiness is pretty much gone now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the mother thing again. It's just like this movie's really good at just like faceless predatory
Oh,
crowds.
the paparazzi
Um
in particular, the bulbs flashing. There's some great zooms into the
yeah.
bulbs where you see and
Yeah.
they're dropping in the sound effects as the bulbs are hitting the ground, or
Yeah.
like, and they're turned up. They're way louder than like the soundtrack or any like the frontal sound effects, and it is
Yeah.
excellent. Again, I was so impressed with that.
And when she's on a red carpet or whatever, and you see like the public like screaming at her, and there's the guy whose mouth is like
Hmm.
obscenely large, and I was like, have they done this? Because like there's the bit where like you said, they distort faces and so on. Like Adrian Brody, who's Arthur Miller, like they sort of blur and like they do kind of trippy things. It's like, have they have they altered his mouth, or is he just one of those like gurning
Yeah,
people who can sort of like a snake who can
yeah,
detach his jaw
both.
and just scream like a gaping void? So yeah, no, this this movie's great, and that's basically my final note
Basically, I
is
mean,
that
it's
is
all
that
just
transition.
downhill from here as well. Not in a bad way, not
Yeah,
in a but like it's just
no,
gonna get worse. Like I say, I
yeah.
think it is Some Like It Hot is when she's starting to.
Oh, sorry. Of course, yeah. So yeah, that's where it's the "I Want to Be Loved by You," which is like the number that
Mhm.
she performs in "Some Like It Hot," and then they sort of use that as the transition of like it's miscarriage straight into shooting that film, and she like done really well where she's like performing a scene from the movie, and then like it just kind of segues into like her snapping and yelling and like having like a breakdown on set. And I think it deals with that sort of like intersection and blurred lines between her art and her life
Mhm.
really well, where it just so smoothly transitions from like movies, iconic movies, which we know back to front, and then just like what's going on with
Yep.
the actual real life person making them. So yeah, that is like the sort of low point is Some Like a Hot.
Mhm.
For sure. And so yeah, I guess we also need to discuss the baby when the baby speaks to her. Like there's another fetus communicating scene.
Yeah. I liked it. I
Yeah,
know. I think a lot of people disliked. I did read a little bit, and I did see a lot of
yeah,
backlash against it. Again, if you take out like opinions or politics, like I do, I just watch a film for its storytelling and its visual
yeah,
communication. I liked it. It was it also reflects her mental state as well.
yeah.
It's not a opinion. It's not pushing anything on me. But Dominic's not trying to tell me
Andrew
anything.
Dominic's not a member of the Westboro
Yeah,
Baptist
I'm not.
Church. He's
I
like
didn't come out this film. Yeah, I didn't
protesting
come out
outside
this film and
abortion
go, oh,
clinics. Yeah,
abortions are a bad thing. I never want to think
yeah,
that because I'm not a fucking idiot. So
yeah,
I liked it. It's my
yeah.
background and on this as well. Actually, I got 2001. I got the Space
Yeah,
Child.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what I
And
thought. Yeah, particularly when it's on the big
yeah,
screen.
I love that. Again, it's a visually pleasing thing to see, and I thought it was really effective. Really reflects how she's feeling.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. It's just praise, isn't
Um,
it?
yeah, yeah. So just to zip along to the end, we find out that the letters from Daddy, which had been sort of driving her, like
Well,
the
that's
one
yeah.
thing that she'd
So
been clinging to.
that's before she gets raped by the president, which is my only last thing I want to talk
Oh,
about. Just
yeah, of
because
course, I
I
forgot about
only
that.
I know happy, but the Mr. President song, the Happy Birthday.
Yeah,
That's what I know. I don't know what the reality
yeah,
is as well. By
yeah.
this point in the film, you are a bit desensitized as the audience because she has gone through fucking hell, and
Yeah, you're basically like her. You've just
yeah,
dissociated and you're
and
just like
that's just
getting
what I was gonna
passed
say.
from,
The
yeah,
dissociation, like she's not there, and the way she's thinking, her inner monologue, like just don't throw up, just don't
yeah,
throw up. I thought, great,
yeah,
like this is amazing, so effectively done as well, and it's not maybe necessary. It was probably one of the points I was like, yeah, this is getting hard.
yeah,
You can't
yeah.
keep
Is
going.
this like sort of trauma for trauma's sake or
Yes, that was
whatever?
a slight nitpick, and I was like, I don't know if it was super necessary. Probably the one bit I would have cut or just trimmed, or I don't know, but it was
Yeah,
effective. It
yeah,
was effective in how it was done, and that's when we get to our final sprawl. Is when Eddie phones her and tells her that baby Chaplin's dead and that he left
yeah,
her something, and she doesn't want it either.
yeah,
She's like, no, I don't want it. I don't want anything. Like she's broken essentially at this point, and she doesn't even want anything to do with that former life or them anymore. And that's when Eddie does send the package anyway of or the what it is, and it's the stuffed toy from when they were gallivanting around Hollywood that they were going to give to their first child, and a card as well from Daddy. And
Yeah.
I loved how this was done. It's basically the card's just like your daddy's not real. It was me, lol.
Yeah.
But it was done in
Yeah.
like I like the way it just sort of fades in. The text. It's not as she's reading it, we're reading it along. I love how he scored
Yeah.
out love and then just wrote from
Yeah.
Chaplin Jr. or whatever. That was devastatingly done as well. Like I
Yeah.
felt her pain. I was like, oh fuck, that's her final kick. That's the one thing that's been keeping you going. And
Yeah.
even in death, this man's just fucking. He's literally destroyed you even further. That's probably worse than any of the
Yeah.
stuff that's happened to you. That's emotionally going to cripple you. Wonderful.
Well, with this being like a fairy tale, that was the one sort of fairy tale, the one idealized man of like, well, like this person who I haven't met, like a sort of like guardian angel that's been there throughout my life. Oh, he doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Like it's been a lie the entire time. The only men are like predators and rapists. Like enjoy, see ya. Like yeah, it's just absolutely crushing. And then she like ODs.
Jodie's and
And
I would say that's it. But I really like how it was portrayed as well. I
yeah,
like
shot so
I like the
well.
way her feet are hanging off the bed and then just stop and you're
Yeah.
just like you don't need to show me graphic to get across.
No.
And then I really like
Yeah.
the last obviously last little bit of seeing heaven basically, which is massive Twin Peaks Mulholland Drive stuff again for me, or Inland Empire even to an extent. But like Laura Palmer in
Yeah.
I know you're not Twin Peaks, but in Fire Walk with Me, which is again Fire Walk with Me is just a trauma film. It's just
Yeah.
the worst things happen to this girl and she dies, and I like this. I like it. It's just it was the most Lynchian part for me.
Yeah.
It was devastating. Like I said, it's just from going into the reality and showing it shockingly realistically portrayed to this sort of like dreamlike Lynch thing.
Yeah.
I loved it. I really did.
Yeah, because Eddie and Charlie or Cass, whatever he's called, the sort of stars motif is introduced by something like they're stargazing together or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. We have that sort of like camera drifting through the universe earlier on, and then that's how it ends. Is like the camera just sort of drifting through black with stars. Credits come
Which
up,
is great,
and
analogy as well for the stars of Hollywood and like how we portray them.
yeah, yeah,
Again, all this sort of like metaphors and meaning that are deeply embedded into every like frame of the film.
yeah. They aren't present in Pinocchio, you could say.
I didn't see that in
But
Morbius,
yeah, exactly, yeah. And but it just has like such a good score. Like the ethereal kind of
Mhm.
drifting score just complements that experience so well. And when I first saw it, like it's something that probably isn't a great trait of mine, as I often don't tend to stick around for the
No,
credits. I'll just be like,
I don't
okay,
either.
up,
No,
great, whatever.
I need to run out,
But
especially after 3 hours. I need a cigarette. I need to
yeah.
run out. I can't. Yeah,
Whereas in London, when I saw it in the cinema, I just kind of sat there because I was like, wow, like this movie just kind of like hit me for six of I'm just sitting there a bit emotionally broken, just
yeah.
drifting
I would have been the
through.
same if I seen this in the theater and didn't watch it
Yeah.
like on Netflix.
And didn't have me like, Kyle, we're recording
Yeah.
in three, two.
I would have let it
Yeah,
sink in a lot more, but so I went out for a cigarette
yeah,
after watching it, and I was just ruminating on it. I was just thinking of it, and
yeah.
like that's power. That's cinema. That's what someone should be.
Exactly, yeah. That's that. Like I left it being like, I was like, God, I wish like every film had this
Yeah,
impact
and that's it.
on me.
I like films that have. I've said it so many times, just something that leaves some sort of impression or impact on me. If I'm coming out there with a massive smile on my face, great. If I'm coming pumped
Yeah.
with adrenaline, great. If I'm coming out mortified, horrified, scared, anything, I just want to feel. That's all. That's not much to ask for either. I just make me feel something, and this did.
Well, yeah, well, because I'm in the US, I've been seeing all the like the notorious like Nicole Kidman AMC advert of like heartbreak feels good in a place like this. But like, yeah, no, that this is what you come to the cinema for. And like half the Oscar nominees, like this is technically an Oscar nominated
Yes,
film because Ana de Armas is nominated for an
and rightfully
Oscar,
so.
but like half the Oscar movies don't have the
No.
impact of this film. So for Mr. Razzie to just think,
I didn't.
like, I don't
Yeah.
know, there's nothing to do but
What,
laugh.
what are the nominations for Best Picture off the top of your head? If you, I know every. All quiet.
All
Okay.
Quiet on the Western Front, The Fablemans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, as you said, Everything
Yeah.
Everywhere All at Once, like Banshees of Inisherin,
Okay.
Women Talking, Elvis. Yeah,
Okay.
probably missing a couple,
It's
but
just missing this.
yeah, yeah.
Banshees was my favorite film of 2022 for the record,
Banshees is great. Yeah,
and it is a different kind of impression, whereas it's just stuck with me. I think about it all the
yeah,
time. I did recently see Tar. I would say
yeah,
Blonde's better than Tar.
yeah,
I'm surprised it's got the reaction it has, to be honest, and it's not
yeah.
other way around. I don't know.
Does
Strange.
doesn't say great things for media comprehension, I don't think
No,
personally, but oh well. I think we're just going to retire the usual sections because, as we have made abundantly clear, this is not Razzie
no,
worthy in any
no.
way, shape, or
I
form.
could make as good a film of this. I'm confidently I can make a better film than Swept Away or fucking Moby
Yeah, yeah.
Dearest or any of that shit. I
Like,
could not make something like this. I couldn't put the passion and skill at not in a million years. So I'm not gonna critique it and say I can do it better.
yeah, the arrogance of two just sort of like absolute hacks to be like, Mr. Dominic, here's a little tweak you could make that would improve this masterpiece. Mr. Da Vinci, have you ever thought if the Mona Lisa
More blue.
was smiling more broadly? What if she was showing a bit of teeth? Yeah, so we're just gonna ignore our usual things, and we will go over the other nominations
Yeah,
for this film.
just go see it. We'll watch it. It's on Netflix.
Yeah,
If you like cinema and you like what we said, I thoroughly recommend it.
yeah. So this film led the nominations. It, of course, won Worst Picture. It was nominated for Worst Director, Andrew Dominic, which is
Insanity
obscene,
is
particularly when
absolutely,
you see the company he's in the second half.
absolutely. If you can't, I'm never ever gonna understand that.
Yeah,
I hope in decades to come this is looked back and it's got one of those like footnotes or it's like like, oh, this was massively wrong in
yeah.
hindsight and Mr. Razzie flayed himself or something. But I don't understand this. Dominic's direction is 10 out of 10 all across the board. Crazy.
Yeah, it's like it's almost as if this is an award ceremony that once nominated Stanley Kubrick, universally renowned as possibly the greatest director who ever lived, but almost like they don't know what good
Yeah.
direction is. And then we have we're dropping down a whole bunch here. We don't have anything until we get to worst supporting actor. Xavier Samuel as Charles Cass Chaplin Jr. and Evan Williams as Edward G. Eddie Robinson Jr., which is peculiar why you would single those
I have
two
no
out.
idea. I just finished, like I said, when we're talking about it, I love their performances. I love
Yeah,
them both in it. I loved how they inhibited their character. They would be two of the ones I'm singling out for praise, if anything.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, nope. Big no for me for both of them. Again,
Like,
when
like,
there's no fucking Matt Smith and stuff from Morbius, and people that are
God.
chewing through the scenery
Yeah.
and not giving a shit. I
I'm just imagining this film having a have sex scene where like the two of them are doing Matt Smith's like dancing. But yeah, no, it's like again, sign of good direction is this is so cohesive. It's hard to single anyone out in any way. So like in order to nominate both of them, you almost have to go like the full hog and just be like, don't have Tom Hanks, don't have anyone, just have those two, have Bobby Cannavale, have
yeah.
Adrian Brody, have the guy that played the president.
Um,
Just
I
like,
mean, and Cannavale was probably my least favorite performance of all of them. I mean, Brody, I thought was great, and I don't
yeah,
think Cannavale was bad. I don't think he's Razzie.
no,
I
no,
just thought he basically was Cannavale. I thought, he was basically
yeah,
himself. It
yeah,
wasn't
which,
groundbreaking, which is fine
yeah,
because
probably,
DiMaggio's probably like that. I'm not.
yeah, Italian
He was probably
American,
the only
like,
performance I wasn't like in awe of, and that's
yeah,
still not a slander. That's not Razzie nominate. That's nothing. That's just if I
yeah.
had to pick someone. But yeah, no, big nose.
And then we have worst screen combo. Both real life characters in the fallacious White House bedroom scene, blonde. So yeah, Marilyn Monroe and JFK. again, I don't know enough of the facts, but if you're objecting to it, to being like made up, I don't know, whatever creative license, but like both characters, like worst on-screen combo. Just break this down. Worst on-screen combo, both characters in a rape scene. Like, what point are you making here? Like, would you say, like, I don't know, Andrew Dominic and his relationship with the truth? That would be what you would
Yeah,
do,
but then
not like, oh, these rapist and victim don't have much chemistry, do they?
It's honestly insane. I mean, especially like the time is what 60 years ago since she died. Some of my favorite films I talk about are so wildly inaccurate. Assassination probably is Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid by Peckinpah.
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde is so far from the truth, and it's one of my most beloved films ever. I don't care that it's not real. I don't, because it's a fucking movie. Like you say, artistic license to be creative. I don't need things to be shot for shot reality. That's bullshit. And this is such a insignificant part of the film as well. It really isn't. It's just like it's the final nail in the coffin, like you say, to show the dissociation of Marlon and kind of the final, even the president fucking using you and spitting you out.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I don't get that at all.
Yeah. And then we have Andrew Dominic and his issues with women, which I don't know if he's ever done this before, like just can't contain his rage and gives like, or maybe he's just so self-satisfied of like, oh, these are two good singers, I can't choose between which one's the best. Let's put both in. But like, come on, just a little bit of like, having watched a 3-hour film, like a little bit of restraint, please, Mr. Razzie. Like pick one. And again, like, I don't know, in making a movie about Hollywood, you're gonna probably be depicting some not nice things that happen to women. Doesn't mean Andrew Dominic
exactly.
is.
I would have thought it would
not
be
like, hey, I personally approve of everything that happens
surely,
in this
surely,
film.
if you're fucking thinking like that, it'd be your issues with men and how horrible, and disgusting
Mr.
Hollywood
Razz is
are.
like, excuse me, not all men. Could Daddy not have come?
He
Like,
did redeem. He redeemed Hollywood, so he's already done that. Jesus.
We've spoken on the past about like the like Quentin Tarantino thing of like Quentin Tarantino directs Blonde, where like just an alternate history where Daddy comes and saves her and like raises her kid and she just lives happily ever after. But yeah, worst remake ripoff or sequel, Blonde.
We spoke about that before.
Yeah,
Isn't it bullshit? Absolute bullshit. Just stupid. It's a remake as much as any Marilyn Monroe is, even if it is based off the book. Casino Royale 2006 is not a remake of 1967. Like, fuck off. Stupid.
Yeah, and then worst screenplay, it won.
No.
Which, like, again, I will deal with it in the second half, but like, I do not know how you can look at some of these other screenplays and think Blonde is worse than.
I thought it was really good as well.
Yeah,
because maybe some bits are not to everyone, like it's spoken about at length, but no, absolutely not. 100% no. Like, strong no. Not one of these nominations, not one of these winners. They shouldn't be nowhere near. They're in the absolutely wrong ceremony. Crazy. I just don't get it.
So after a incredibly weird first half to WWF, I'm confident in saying this is maybe the most bizarre episode that we're gonna do. You can join us for the second half when we'll be discussing all of the other nominees and winners, and we'll be in much more familiar territory, much more in our element. So join us for that.
See you soon.
And welcome back to the second half of the podcast. We're going to be going through all the other winners and nominees. This is going to be a weird one because we have already spoken a lot about some of these films, and I haven't done any research. Like, I haven't watched anything that I hadn't already seen at the time. So, worst picture, the other nominees, Disney's Pinocchio,
which we've both seen.
So, yeah, we've both seen that.
Again, I think I've said it in the previous episode, but just just to keep everyone up to date in case you didn't watch the predictions, don't watch it.
No.
Really, watch the
cartoon.
Watch the cartoon. You want more Pinocchio? Watch Del Toro's.
You want more? Watch Polytron.
You want more? Just watch the cartoon. It's such a redundant film. It's not the worst. I think it's not the worst live action Disney film. I kind of think it might. I mean, I really dislike The Jungle Book. That one really fucking got me.
The Jungle Book, I thought Cinderella was okay, and I thought the Jungle, because the Jungle Book almost in certain parts moves closer towards the Kit. Like, I don't.
There's so much.
The Jungle Book.
There's also ones I haven't seen. Dumbo, I haven't seen. a few of
Yeah.
them, so they're probably his work. I didn't.
Yeah, no, Dumbo's not great.
Lion King might be even more redundant as well.
Yeah, yeah. The Lion King on an existential
Yeah,
level of like, why are you doing this weird,
yeah.
uncanny valley? But Pinocchio is just like a Pinocchio is maybe like the most soul leaving my body of just like I have zero curiosity about
It
this
took away
and
it took out
like
all the good stuff as well, like all the stuff I like, all the
yeah,
dark,
yeah.
weird shit.
The
Yeah,
smoking and
where's the smoking
drinking.
drinking? Where's all these shit little kids? It
Yeah.
lost a lot of the charm. All these are like distilled. You're losing so much of what makes these beloved classics beloved in the first place. It deserves to be here. It deserves to be a nomination. I'm not going to argue that though.
Yeah, so we put out a call for people's thoughts on the Razzies, and Tyler Van, who's written to us before, chipped in saying I didn't think Blonde was a terrible movie, but I'm not too surprised that it won Worst Picture, which is pretty much in line with us in terms of like we're both like very positive on it. Andrew Dominic being Australian as well, I
Hmm.
guess, compatriot. But like as sort of like annoyed as we were, we could see this coming a mile away. Like once it led the nominations, like
It's
it
winning.
was kind
Yeah.
of the favorite. But Tyler's suggestion was I personally would have awarded it to Pinocchio, which I think's a pretty
I wouldn't have argued. I
solid
wouldn't have
winner.
argued with it. I
Yeah.
don't think it is. I still stand by that. I think Morbius is much worse than both, but it's my opinion and like it's semantics almost. Why is Morbius better than Pinocchio? Like, is I don't think that's worth even getting into. They're both terrible. I wouldn't disagree if more Pinocchio won this. Sorry.
We've spoken about how Mr. Razzie likes to spread the love of he likes to do like the one Sandler film that wins, like the one like I guess he does the Mike Lindell and the Hillary movie, but generally he sort of does one Sandler, one Stallone, one whatever, like and like he's done Catwoman, so I guess he's done
Yeah,
superheroes, but he
it's not.
hasn't done like
Yeah,
MCU
and that's 20
superheroes.
years ago as
And
well.
he
Like that's a big
yeah.
enough spread for
Don't
me.
say that, Kyle. We're both young. That Catwoman was yesterday.
Spread it out.
And
And like that's it. You didn't.
well, yeah,
You could have picked Black Adam or something or whatever it was called. There's more choice. You
yeah,
had plenty of choices here. Said it before the bubble you talked about.
yeah.
There's much worse bottom of the barrel stuff to go through here. But Pinocchio and Morbius are the two. I'm not going to argue with at all in any way.
Well, he hasn't done superhero. He hasn't done like Disney superhero, like MCU superhero, and he hasn't done like Disney live action remakes, which I think are both two trends in cinema that like are Razzie
Oh yeah,
worthy. So he could have easily done either of those, and we wouldn't have complained. And like Pinocchio would have been a much more fun episode
oh
for
yeah,
people who tune in to a bad movie
yeah.
podcast.
Morbius wasn't
They'd
fun.
much more enjoy.
But Morbius made
Yeah.
more sense to me in terms of like, jumping on the meme bandwagon almost.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, for
it not
sure.
only got released twice and bombed twice, but it's the Razzie as well. So it's it would give it that double relevancy in the future. That would how bad it was. But yeah, no, like I can't argue with you there.
Yeah. So then we have Good Morning, the Machine Gun Kelly
Which I'm glad didn't win.
stoner
I don't
film.
want to fucking watch that. I really don't want to watch
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we've at least benefited from you've seen Blonde for the first time, I've seen it again, and so yeah, maybe we owe Mr. Razzie. We should send him a thank you letter. Hey, it's your daddy. Thank you for getting the Razzies
Give me
right.
My Son Hunter. Where's that nomination?
uh, my daddy Joe. Um, come on, man. I'm real proud of you, Jack, with the things and the doing the cocaine and then we have the King's Daughter, and of course, so the King's Daughter is that weird
Yeah, the
movie that
Brosnan
was shot
10 years
like
ago.
yeah
I'm glad
exactly.
that didn't win, just
Um,
because I didn't want to watch it. So I don't think I'll ever watch it.
Same, yeah. And Morbius, which we have done to death. We have a dedicated special to Morbius, and we've kind of spoken about our thoughts here, which is like it's kind of like a little oddity, like sub MCU movie from like 2005, whatever. So that brings us on to worst director. We have old Bobby Z, Robert Zemeckis for Disney's Pinocchio. Oh, and we'll just say to keep so with the predictions, Blonde of course won. Kyle, you predicted Blonde would win. I kind of thought that it might, but I went for Morbius just to,
Which
in
is
my
still,
eyes,
yeah, it was
play it
still,
safe
yeah,
and to sort of differentiate. So
1-0.
current tally 1-0 Kyle. Can we mount a comeback? Then moving on to worst director. So for this, we both said Andrew Dominic. That was our prediction. And so the also rans, we had Robert Zemeckis, which we're both kind of. Would you say you're a fan? We've both enjoyed things he's done.
Zemeckis up until a point.
You don't like his mocap
His
stuff, do
mocap
you?
stuff, not for me. Classic Zemeckis, yeah, like
Yeah.
some mixed opinions. It's like I know he's a good director. I know he can direct. I know he can do good films.
Yeah.
He needs to lean away. Pinocchio, I would never have been in a million years told it felt like a Zemeckis. I couldn't have told you who the director was.
No.
Just like any of them, I couldn't tell you the fucking. They're all barely doing the bare minimum, and you just get the animators do the works. You know, these 3,000 interns that are working like slaves. They're the ones directing the film, while Tom Hanks or Bill Murray jumps about on a green screen. Like nothing, nothing. You don't need to do anything. But yeah, no, I'm not a fan of modern Zemeckis.
Yeah, I controversially, I love Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So he's been, and
controversially.
yeah, I've enjoyed the flight was okay. Like I kind of enjoyed the Joseph Gordon-Levitt Walk film, and like I also kind of like The Witches. Like he's Welcome to Marwin, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in what he does, so it kind of saddens me to see him make something that's like lifeless.
I don't know if it's not Beowulf. What's it? Polar Express.
Yeah.
That's after, we're past Gump and we're past Contact and stuff by that point. So anything after Polar Express, not for me, or I haven't seen, basically.
Yeah. And then we have Daniel Espinosa, Morbius, who we've kind of talked to death. Yeah. Morbius is like ill-conceived, but kind of executed competently as a movie from 2005.
Yeah, that's a backhanded compliment there. Yeah, I especially in terms of like directing the performances, which is pretty much the only thing you can do in a Marvel movie or whatever. I think he fails miserably. I've said that before. The leads are terrible
on the record.
But yeah, he deserves it. I just didn't expect him to win it.
Yeah. Andrew Dominic for Blonde, so didn't win. We have kind of covered Dominic at length, so the score remains 1-0 for this category. Judd Apatow for The Bubble. Yeah, The Bubble's bad. The Bubble's bloated. The Bubble's all over the place. The Bubble would be a worthy winner. And then the actual award went to Machine Gun Kelly, aka Colson Baker, and Maud Sun for Good Morning. Neither of us have seen it, but it does not surprise me that Machine Gun Kelly may not be one of the better musician-turned-directors. Yep. So, moving on to Worst Actor. For this, we both predicted Jared Leto. And the nominees, Sylvester Stallone for Samaritan as John Smith, Samaritan Nemesis.
Which I spoke about in the predictions. I did.
Have you finished watching
it? No, I haven't. But up until the point I did, like I said, it's the grizzled Last Blood performance. It's the exact same, and it's not good. It's not. I'm not going to say, oh, this is Creed 1 or Rocky Balboa or Rocky 1 or First Blood levels of performances. But it's fine. It's not particularly bad. Like both our boys, Schwarzenegger and Stallone, have done much worse performances. Oh, have you not seen Schwarzenegger's newest bloody trailer? He's going to be on next year's. But no, I disagree. It's just another dunk.
Yeah. It's just the beloved character who we love to feature. Then we have Machine Gun Kelly from Good Morning as London Clash. I'm trying to think if I've seen Machine Gun Kelly in anything apart from Jackass. He's a bad actor in Jackass.
I was going to say he's really,
playing himself.
He's really bad. He was in Bird Box,
but
I can't remember him in it. I think I've seen him in something else as well.
Yeah, also he's in Captive State. He's in The King of Staten Island. I know I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but he's what stuck in my head is Jackass 4, and he's fucking dreadful and so annoying in that. I know Machine Gun Kelly from wrestling. He makes many appearances, and he's fucking awful. I just don't like him. I don't like his music. I don't like him. Maybe I'm the boomer. Yeah. Maybe I'm the Mr. Razzie, but whatever. I don't think he's cut out for it.
Yeah. Then Tom Hanks, Disney's Pinocchio as Geppetto. As we said in the preview show, this is nowhere near a leading performance, and you've just done this to spread him across multiple categories. He's bad. He's Razzie worthy for sure, but he does not belong in this category.
I said before, I don't. I said in the predictions, I'm sure. I know it's bad. It's not good. I'm not defending it. I personally didn't hate it because at least there was some level of energy, but because it's Tom Hanks.
It's really just like they've called in Tom Hanks in a Disney movie. It's just the most autopilot.
He looked the part.
Like,
he looked fine.
That's all these movies are. It's just that's all. Who looks like
he looks fine, but yeah,
they're
not
just
gonna argue. I'm not gonna argue.
Corpses shuffling across. Yeah. Then we have Pete Davidson, Marmaduke as Marmaduke voice. You disputed the legitimacy of this because you think it's a director streaming, and also it's like a voice performance, which is odd because he doesn't really like. You can certainly Pauly Shore as Pinocchio. Yeah. Why does he not have that?
100%. I strongly disagree with this one. Yeah, it wasn't released. It was just on Netflix. I think. Have a quick look. I'm sure I said that before. This is just to get. I'm not going to defend Pete Davidson. He probably deserves it when his actual acting performances. To randomly say the only thing bad about Marmaduke and the only Razzie-worthy thing about it is Pete Davidson and not the movie. Blonde's better. Yeah. Blonde's a much worse film than Marmaduke, apparently, according to Mr. Razzie. Stupid. Absolutely stupid.
And then worst actor, Jared Leto as Dr. Michael Morbius from Morbius. So slam dunk, could see it coming a mile away if it wasn't going to be like once Lawrence Fox didn't get the nomination.
100% as well. Like Leto's. I mean, we spoke about it like so many times now, but I cannot stand his performances. I'm dreading him to ruin my beloved Tron. I'm not. Oddly enough, you love him.
I don't think Dr. Michael Morbius is one of his worst. I think he's worse when he's taking the like the Joker kind of stands
Blade Runner 2049.
Joker and Blade Runner, exactly. Yeah.
I just think, I guess it's because like I said, I just seen Ant-Man, and at least people are having fun. Yeah. It's not much of a compliment, but at least Paul Rudd's having a blast, and Michael Douglas is having fun, and Pfeiffer's having fun. He doesn't seem like he takes it so fucking seriously. And imagine if Snipes did that in Blade, he played it dead serious, like he's going to win an Oscar for it or something.
Would you prefer like MCU soy Morbius, where like Ryan Reynolds is there just being like so let me break it down for you. I got bitten by a Costa Rica bat, I
thought Matt Smith was terrible in this film. I would have preferred him as Morbius.
I'd have loved to see that.
At least he has energy. At least he takes. He's in a vampire movie. You don't need to be in like Snipes level. I'm not going to hold you to that bar, but you can at least have some sort of fun. And it's just no, not for me. Yeah, deserves it.
Okay, so the score is now 2-1 in your favor. Golf remains the same, but we both correctly got that. Moving on to worst actress. So we have Alicia Silverstone from The Requiem as Jaylin. So Alicia Silverstone, do you have any sort of like larger thoughts on her? I still think of her as Batman and Robin's Alicia Silverstone.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen her in other things, obviously, surely, but she's Batgirl. Yeah. I'm not the person. I like Batman and Robin. I have a way.
I think
Batman it's a great fun.
I'm looking forward to that.
Such a fun film.
That's I think that is the Postman year. So Postman, I'm expecting to be a grind, but Batman and Robin.
Of course, I loved it at the time as a kid. I loved it as a teenager. Different reason. I love it now. I spoke about it.
Yeah.
Compared to Batman Forever in particular, I adore it. Yeah, I don't love her in Batman and Robin. She's probably. Yeah, and it's almost like taking it too seriously when it's such a stupid film. I don't really have an opinion. I haven't seen The Requiem. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's the Meg.
I've seen the Meg.
Non-brand Meg.
Yeah.
So moving on, Kaya Scodelario, the King's Daughter, as Marie Joseph. So a film that she shot 5 years ago. Neither of us super strong opinions on that. You know her from Skins. Yeah, I know her from stuff. Diane Keaton, Mac and Rita as Mackenzie Mac Martin / Rita. So this is the body swap comedy where a 30-year-old woman wakes up as their 70-year-old self.
Yes.
Kinda wanted to watch Mac and Rita, but just didn't have the time, so no comment. Diane Keaton with the Woodsy connection. Dan Keaton's like amazing and like The
She's
Godfather,
all three
and
of them as well. Even the third part,
I
I love
was
Keaton in it. I've not I know Keaton from Godfather, and I know other stuff obviously throughout, but that's like my
yeah
introduction. It wasn't like Annie Hall and all this was later, and sort of like
yeah
growing up a bit more. She could be shit in it. Of course, she could be shit in it. I haven't seen the film though, so I can't. Maybe she total phones it in, and it's just terrible. But I think she's great.
I was at the Academy Museum the other day and they were playing like a sort of like casting clip or just like rehearsal clip of The Godfather with her, and or maybe it was even a scene that didn't make the final cut. Whatever. They were playing like it was just Table, her and Michael, and that properly made me appreciate like how brilliant she is in that when I kind of looked over her. But like in The Godfather, because everyone's
Yeah.
fantastic, I'd maybe not given her as much credit. Um,
Especially in part two, and I said you mind. I prefer part two. Part one's like the best film of all time, but part two's better in my opinion. I
yeah,
love her performance in that. I think it adds so much to Michael and Pacino. She's so nuanced.
yeah.
She's just fantastic. But this is the more dominant Mark and Rita. It
Yeah, so sorry.
give you a
That
total.
was a kind of disclaimer for me to say like her 70s and like 80s
Hmm.
work unparalleled. And then to be honest, not dissimilar to Pacino and De Niro. She just seems to have been like enjoying like her later years of like kind of being in like light fluffy stuff
Yeah.
and maybe not delivering the best performance, but whatever. She's a
It's the
legend.
same as like well,
She
Brando and
hasn't earned
Doctor
it.
at Island of Doctor Moreau.
Yeah.
Like you can't
Yeah.
say oh he's a terrible actor because you could
Yeah.
just throw away everything you've.
It's
That's what I use with Malcolm
it's the Laurence Olivier
McDowell.
it's the Laurence Olivier Inchin thing. Like if anyone's earned collecting a
Yeah,
check, I
yep.
have. Now I'm like a fine wine old boy. You have to drink me before I go off. Then we have Bryce Dallas Howard for Jurassic World Dominion as Claire Dearing. I know you were so this was your prediction. I went for Kaya and you went for
Yes,
Bryce.
I haven't seen the newest Jurassic World, whatever Dominion or whatever it's called. I've seen the first two though, and
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest Bryce Dallas Howard fan. Nepotism bait.
Because she's a woman connected to Star Wars and
Well,
you don't believe that that should be a
I don't
thing,
know. I
should
don't
you?
know. It says, Ron Howard's, children maybe should stay away from Hollywood. She's really bad though, and I know I've popped it down to as well. Like the chemistry with Chris Pratt is just non-existent and weird. It's just like
Yeah.
a strange role for her as well. Like in other things can be great, but
100%.
yeah. So that's one I wanted. I'm glad it got nominated, and I'm glad I picked it as well because I would have picked it based on the first two. Maybe in Dominion she turns it round and.
No, everyone's worse in Dominion. It's just it's truly astounding how they continue to ruin the formula of dinosaurs eating people, but they truly like each Jurassic World installment is worse than the last. I liked World quite a bit because I thought that was a kind of like good commentary on reboots and
I didn't
bigger,
mind it.
meaning better.
I liked it enough to see the second one, so I guess
Yeah,
that's the statement. Is
but did not like the second one enough to see
no,
the
that's it.
third.
It's not. It's,
Which, yeah,
that's it. You're always. I like the.
one strike and
Yeah,
you're
well, yeah,
out.
no, you get one. It's diminishing though. It's you're on the
Yeah,
scale that
yeah.
you're on tread and water. I'm always like this with sequels, especially ones I'm not invested in. But yeah, I'm not gonna ever watch it either. It was just second one was really bad.
And then we have crossed out Ryan Kira Armstrong from Firestarter. So this was The Child. And we've done that to death because the Razzies have finally woken up that maybe nominating children
Bad idea.
is not the best thing you could be doing. And so that brings us on to the winner, which strong contender for the most insane thing that has ever happened with the Razzies. The winner for Worst Actress 2022 is the Razzies for their 43rd Worst Actress nominations
Absolutely
blunder.
fucking insane. Neither of us would have predicted it. We knew I said, and they might
No.
have done the bombs stead or steed award or whatever, like a little subcategory
Yeah,
to
yeah.
like, oh, we've been naughty boys.
Yeah, mea
Yeah,
culpa.
yeah, yeah. I didn't expect the Razzies to win it. Second time that man's won Worst Actress after Tyler Perry, I think. Absolutely.
Did Eddie Murphy not win it?
Oh, wow. Track record. Okay, the first white old boomer man to win Worst Actress.
Well, this is just like, this reflects badly on us, where I'm like, we were just like, we've been lampooning Mr. Razzie all these years. I was like, are we now like, is it going to come out that we've been misgendering Mr. Razzie and like Mr. Razzie, like MX Razzie's like non-binary, and we've been like, is this some
No,
sort of
no,
statement?
yeah,
Like,
no, no.
um,
It has to be a man that has to redeem Hollywood for being wonderful and not being a sexist machine anymore. That's only an old white boomer man living in LA that's a dirty hack would ever think like that. This is the first Razzies to win a Razzie though?
yeah,
Just fucking insane.
I was in hysterics when I saw this because I knew it would drive you
It's
nuts
fucking
because like
yeah.
when you mentioned like I don't know like the Eiffel Tower did the Eiffel Tower win a Razzie or was it just
Yeah, it was
nominated?
nominated.
And you were like you're gonna see all these list of things
Yeah.
that have won Razzies and like I don't know yeah like tabloid culture or
Yeah.
whatever, just things completely unrelated to the film industry. And now you have to now the Razzies are a Razzie winning like the Razzie winning actress. It's like, oh, what was it like acting in the 43rd worst actress nomination?
Always say it is because it should
Um,
be held as a mirror of the Oscars. And if the
yeah,
Oscars win best, female performance or something this year, it goes to themselves for
Chris Rock for taking the slap from
the
Will Smith.
slap
Like
wins.
I know
Not even Chris.
it's kind of
Yeah,
sexist to take an
yeah.
opportunity
It,
for a woman and give it to a man. This
that's what I'm
isn't
saying. Like,
this
it's
isn't
not even
very
just
progressive.
Will Smith are getting it or Chris Rock. It's the slap getting it. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
motion itself gets it. Something. It breaks all your rules. It makes you look like a fucking idiot. Just apologize and go, okay, Bryce Dallas Howard wins or something. Alicia Silver, back out a little bit, whatever. We'll just give it to someone.
I saw on their website somewhere they mentioned it going to Raspberry, which like I think they've given like a name to their little mascot.
Which is an ugly little
Which I
thing
don't
as
know
well.
if yeah. Like when you sort of capture it in the video, it's almost like a creation in blonde of just like the
Yeah.
face is distorted and whatever. I will say, just in watching that video, I want to give them props for their apology, where they're like when we've trashed them for like the statement they released and how sort of tone deaf that was. I did think in their official announcement video, their apology there. I can't remember exactly what they said or what differentiated it, but I do remember just thinking like, okay, this is a little bit better. Like you are taking ownership of this here, and then they're like, and because of that we are awarding ourselves. But like they were a little bit better
No, I
at
get that, but then you take it away.
apologizing.
I mean, does that also mean that the kid was going to win? Probably. Like,
Mm.
I again just strike off the nomination, give it to someone else, and
Yeah, that's enough.
Um,
Yeah. And then make an extra category and award
yeah,
yourself like
biggest
worst
media blunder.
cinematic
Yeah, yeah.
decision, whatever. Yeah.
Insane.
So because of that, just bolt from the blue. Like imagine if we'd said that in our
Oh,
preview show before they'd taken if we just said like I'm gonna take a wild guess here that none of the above is gonna win, and the Razzies are in fact gonna take
I bet
home
you the
worst
fucker as well.
actress.
He won't give it out to Darren Duane or anything like that. But he'll give it to himself. He'll have his own fucking award on his desk. Like,
Well, no, this is where we start the lobbying appeal, Mr. Razzie. Award yourself the
he can come on the
Razzie.
podcast now. He's won a Razzie. Yeah, fucking.
Yeah, there we go. So we're supporting actor. Both of us went for Tom
Yeah.
Hanks here. Evan Williams, Edward G. Eddie Robinson Jr., Done to Death, Mod Son, Good Morning as Dylan. Zero experience of Mod
Never even heard of
Son
Mod Son,
or the
yeah.
movie, so cannot comment. Xavier Samuel as Charles Cass Chaplin Jr. Yeah, covered. Pete Davidson, Good Morning as Barry, Done to
Done to
Death,
Death.
whatever, even if it's for Marmaduke. And the winner, Tom Hanks, Elvis as Colonel Tom Parker. So like I don't know, it's a hammy performance. It's better than Geppetto, I think. But like it's cartoonish,
Yeah.
but it kind of works with the film.
But
I
people
don't
take it
know.
out of context. Like, I
Yeah.
haven't seen Elvis, but I know Tom Hanks' performance, and I've seen scenes from it. So like, if I just seen that, like Mr. Razzie probably has, it's you're probably gonna pick it.
Yeah, and so that brings the score up to 3-2, the golf remaining the same.
Closing in though.
Everything to play
Yeah,
for. We're supporting actress. So we had both said Adria Arjona, aka Dr. Michaela Morbius, and so no chance of no chance of me coming back here. And the nominees were Mira Sorvino, Lamborghini, the man behind the legend as Anita. Nothing to say
Nothing to
there.
say. Nothing to say a lot in these categories. I think I said on the predictions as well. It's all that this, when this is, and I said this in what episode was it? What episode did we did it? Everyone when we were going through '96, and I got to worst supporting actress. You've got to think like Mr. Razzie and just pick random films because he doesn't know what categories
Yeah.
are, and he's just going to be, oh yeah, women. I can just pick random films and random actresses and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, why would this pop
Yeah.
up now? Like, insanity, and he's an idiot.
Penelope Cruz, the 355 as Graciela Rivera, Lorraine Bracco, Disney's Pinocchio as Sophia, voice the seagull. We've listened back to the preview episode if you want to hear that in full,
Yeah.
but it's insane that you would nominate like a seagull who has like 3 lines, something that she does a perfectly fine job at.
Yeah.
But as we've covered, I think this is like him holding a grudge from like years gone by when what was the Razzie film that he went for her for? Well, it was even Cowboys Get the Blues,
Yeah,
was
something
it?
like that. Yeah. Again, he's just got such vendettas and he's so vindictive. I'll show you when you play a seagull, when you voice a seagull, and you're not even like in the studio for more than an hour. I'll fucking get you.
Listen, everyone might think you were great for Goodfellas, but you watch your back. You sleep with one eye open. Fan Bing Bing, the 355 and the King's Daughter as Lin Mi Sheng and the Mermaid. And then winner Adria Arjona as Martine Bancroft, aka Dr. Michaela Morbius. So yeah, she's just going down. Like if Matt Smith isn't nominated, she probably shouldn't win
No,
this
100%.
because like
She's
I guess Matt Smith has more sexual chemistry
does,
with
yeah,
Dr. Michael
100%.
Morbius than she does.
That's
but
not her
they're
fault
both
though.
kind of
It's
doing the
not
same.
her fault. A lot of that's on Leto as well. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I didn't think she was the worst part. Out of those 3 leads, she's probably my favorite. But again, who else are they going to pick? He's not seen any other movies. Yeah, he's going to pick her.
Okay, so moving on to worst screen combo, and so this is where we have more contributions from social media. Kelly said, I know this is the Razzies, friend of the show Kelly. I know this is the Razzies, but I wish they'd take worst screen couple more seriously.
I said that as well. No, like Kelly's right there. It's always been a like contention for me, bone of contention, because it's so like weird the picks, like we said about Andrew Dominic and his issues with men. Andrew Dominic's not on the screen, you're just inherently wrong. It should be Matt Smith and Jared Leto, and it's not even here. Show me people that have no chemistry or that are just awkward and weird together. That's exactly what it should be. Like we said, we're swept away. Like it's these categories and these performances where you're like, I don't believe you as a couple or antagonist, protagonist, whatever. And he doesn't. He never fucking does it. It's so infuriating.
At least you changed it to combo rather than couple, because you want it to be like 2 actors with a lack of chemistry and not like someone who doesn't appear on screen
more so you
or
can
actor in their costume or.
But anyway, even the first one you're going to read out is going to prove my point.
The 2 365 Days sequels, 365 Days This Day and the
which are never on screen together. Right away, like unless you're watching them simultaneously on 2 screens. I don't get that. But yeah, he's dunking on those. Surprised those films didn't actually pop up. I guess maybe because they're not American releases. Just dump them in another category.
Machine Gun Kelly and Mod Sun, Good Morning. So this is arguably the only, well, this just is the only kind of valid one. But we haven't seen it, so we can't comment. Andrew Dominic and his issues with women. Blonde, both real-life characters in the fallacious White House bedroom scene. Blonde. I'm kind of surprised he didn't do, like, we've spoken about how he can't count and how he's done thruples for worst on-screen couples before. I'm kind of surprised he didn't do like the juniors and Marilyn.
He wouldn't have done that because then you'd have also had to nominate Anna de Armas.
Precisely.
He's simping too much for that, so yeah.
Yeah, like they're both nominated for worst supporting actor, but like when he could sort of like you would think that almost like implies they would. He's like, no, Queen Anna.
As soon as Anna's with them, they're great actors. Yeah. No.
And then the winner. So have I said? Oh, no, I haven't said. I went for Dominic and his issues with women. You went for Tom Hanks. And that is, of course, the winner. Tom Hanks and his latex-laden face and that ludicrous accent. So once again, Mr. Razzie being unable to contain himself to one poorly written joke and just
Yeah.
splurging everything that comes to mind.
Gotta think like a
And
hack.
actor and makeup they wear, that classic time-honored tradition. So that widens the gulf to 5-3 in Kyle's favour, getting a little bit harder to
Yeah.
come back, but we do still have 3 categories left to play for.
Mm-hmm.
Worst remake, ripoff, or sequel. So you said Pinocchio and I said 365 days. So we have Jurassic World, Dominion, kind of covered, Diminishing Returns, Firestarter, not great. Blonde, we've kind of dismissed. 365 days this day and the next 365 days.
Day.
I haven't seen
No.
them. I just, like, the first one's truly loathsome, and I assume they don't improve. And the winner, Disney's Pinocchio, not Del Toro's.
I laughed at that when
in
you announced it.
parenthesis.
I was like to specify that as well. When you haven't done it throughout all the other categories, I've been reading when I was going through these. Oh, with Tom Hanks, how was he with Del Toro? But now at the end, thank you, Mr. Razzie, for specifying that, because otherwise I'm too fucking stupid to know the difference. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad Pinocchio is what was going to ride me to victory. I'm very happy.
Well, yeah, we've kind of spoken about it. Kind of perfect winner for a remake because it's just so unnecessary. Watch the cartoon instead. Lifeless and just no point. So yeah, that's done. So you've taken the lead, 6-3 with only 2 remaining categories. So let's proceed on. Worst screenplay. I had said Blonde. No, I had said Morbius, and you had said Blonde. And this is where you kind of diverge. I think I went Team Morbius, and you correctly assumed that 8 nominations for Blonde might suggest
that someone has a vendetta. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Morbius, screen story and screenplay by Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless, based on the Marvel Comics character, done Morbius to death. Screenplay is probably the thing it's worst at.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Jurassic World Dominion, screenplay by Emily Carmichael and Colin Trevorrow. Yeah, messy film. Really, really sort of bad. Probably worse than Morbius because it's a Jurassic World movie and yet you're watching like bioengineered locusts for some reason. Good Morning, written in parenthesis by Machine Gun Kelly and Mott Sun.
He can't contain his sass, can he?
Comment.
Yeah.
No. Disney's Pinocchio, screenplay by Bobby Z and Chris Weitz, based on the animated film and the novel Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi, not authorized by the estate of Carlo Collodi.
That's good, so Carlo doesn't get the nomination. I like his estate don't have to bear that cross. I like that.
Yeah. And then worst screenplay winner, Blonde, written for the screen by Andrew Dominic, adapted from the bio novel by Joyce Carol Oates.
But authorized,
and we have discussed that. Yeah.
I like that.
So that widens the gulf to 7-3 and brings us on to our final category, the Razzie Redeemer Award. So we didn't have any predictions for the Razzie Redeemer Award. In the first part of our preview show prior to the nominations, we tried to preempt it, and so that's where we went. Like, we both went Tom Cruise, didn't we, for Top Gun, from The Mummy to Top Gun.
From the millions of Tom Cruise nominations and how much of a hard on he has against him. I thought, especially because
to saving the movie industry.
Exactly. I thought that was a certainty almost.
And then we went like Brendan Fraser, Encino Man, like Furry Vengeance to The Whale. I can't remember if we had any other ones, but we both thought this was going to be the Tom Cruise Award. And then when they announced the nominations, they didn't have the Redeemer shortlist, so we both kind of suspect this might be something that they would drop on the night. But we were also prepared for this just to be like a little thing that Mr. Razzie just lost interest with and decides to ditch. So we do have it. We have our Razzie Redeemers. Mark Wahlberg, from 4-time Razzie nominee to Father Stew. So as someone who's seen Father Stew, fucking nonsense. So again, you can hear in the first half of our previous show, I predicted Father Stew as like worst actor. So for this to be like his redemptive performance, like it's nonsense. Father Stew is a shit performance. And it's also like Like Mel Gibson is like that's the movie where Mel Gibson's in it, and it's directed by his like 24-year-old girlfriend or
Okay.
whatever. So like, as we know, Mr. Razzie quite rightly hates anti-Semite Mel
Mm-hmm.
Gibson, and like, well, even Mark Wahlberg, like blinder of Vietnamese people everywhere, Mark Wahlberg, like when Razzies are so dictated by like moral character, like, has he just bought the Father Stew narrative of like, oh, this guy's holy now, he's
Well,
redeemed?
like,
Because Father Stew is
yeah,
dreadful.
but
It's a shit
it got shit
performance
review. I mean,
and a laughable movie.
yeah, I know it's Mel Gibson's girlfriend did it. I know my beloved Malcolm McDowell's in it, and I know it
Yeah,
has really bad reviews and wasn't well received. And I,
yeah.
I, I don't understand. I do not get that at all. That is insane. Again, this is such an insane year to be so widely off the mark. And I've not seen it, but those things I know about. Something that's sitting at like 35% or whatever, it cannot be a redemption, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have Val Kilmer from the Island of Dr. Moreau to Val. So this is where I suspect something is up. So spoiler alert, Tom Cruise isn't
Yeah.
nominated. He doesn't make an appearance. I don't know if this is a moral character thing where Mr. Rousey just doesn't want to give him any credit because of Scientology, but it's almost
It's
glaring
almost deliberate.
when like,
Um,
yeah, when you would say like Val Kilmer would be like, you would say he's really good in Top Gun Maverick, and that scene just has like so much
yeah,
pathos because
emotional,
of um
impact. Yeah,
the real life, the real life
and to be able to do that, to be able to
significance.
give
Yeah.
that performance despite his condition and his like physical appearance, like yeah, it's moving, it's touching.
So why you would neglect that? Why would you neglect a role where he's actually acting to instead single him out for a documentary in which he's just living
Yeah,
his life and playing himself?
which is opening.
I really
I
don't
don't get it.
understand that.
It doesn't make any sense. Again, it's deliberate to avoid Top Gun here. You
Yeah.
can't pick a redemption into a documentary. That's not you're not like you say, you're not performing. You're opening a can of worms here that I don't want to open as well if we're picking out documentaries and other things. But
Why don't we have Robert Downey Jr. from Doolittle to Senior, the
yeah,
documentary he made about his dad? That makes about as much sense.
100%.
And like, it's weird that he's still like carrying a torch for the Island of Dr. Moreau, which we will deal with next week. And yeah, it's an odd one. So that then brings us on to the winner, which is even even more strange. Razzie Redeemer Award goes to Colin Farrell from 2004 Worst Actor nominee to 2022 Best Actor Oscar frontrunner. Okay, he's not the frontrunner. Let's just
No, he's
acknowledge
not.
that. Like, has he won any? Has he won any of the precursor
No.
awards? It's going to be Austin Butler. It's going to be Brendan Fraser. We're recording this on Oscar night. Like, it will come to you by the time the Oscars have been given. But I will eat my hat. I will Werner Herzog eat my shoe if Colin Farrell wins, and if it's not Elvis or The Whale.
Yeah.
So just getting that out of the way. Where have you been? Have you been living under a rock? Like, Colin Farrell has been delivering like some of the best performances for like the last decade. Like his work with Yorgos Lanthimos, like The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer. Like this year he had like The Batman and After Yang dropping on the same day. Like all his movies with Martin McDonagh, like
And he's good with
In
in
Bruges,
Bruges.
Seven Psychopaths. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yep, I 100%.
like
I mean,
the
he is
last.
dreadful in Alexander, but he wasn't. Like I've spoke about Alexander before to you, maybe not on the podcast, but
Yeah,
when we get to 2004, we'll talk about it more. But he didn't even win. Like he was one nomination, fucking 16 years ago.
yeah,
Whereas like Tom Cruise, you have been relentlessly shitting on for your entire career. Brendan
yeah,
Fraser as well. Sorry, you've been shitting on him just like when everyone else in Hollywood was. You were dogpiling him. Here's your time to have a good little publicity, and he's redeemed it because he is the people's redemption of
yeah.
choice. Yeah.
People with actual redemptive arcs versus like an amazing character
That's
actor
consistently
who
worked for
just probably, yeah, exactly, like, to say nothing of my beloved True Detective season 2, but like he's like he's just one of those people, like kind of maybe like Brad Pitt and Daniel Craig, of like he's a character actor in a leading man's body, of like when he was like in his 20s and cast for his looks, he maybe
No,
didn't get the chance to
yeah.
showcase his
And that's
talent
also like
as much
Alexander
as he is
problem,
now.
like
He's
of being cast under which,
yeah,
and he is not suitable in any way, and like his accent's
yeah,
overbearing, and it causes a whole. But the film's not
yeah,
great in its own. It's not the only problem with it, but yeah, he is a massive problem with
yeah,
that film. That's fair enough. Like you're saying, Brad Pitt's not like redeemed from Troy. Like
yeah.
get fucked.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. Like I would struggle to find an actor who's been as consistently good within the past
And to
decade
have two
as Colin
to have
Farrell.
two massive legit redemption arcs in Tom Cruise and Brandon Fraser, and to
Yeah,
just get rid of them both. Like I wouldn't
yeah,
even have agreed with Val Kilmer if he was here for Maverick. Is like you say, despite it being great and emotional and all the impact, I don't think it redeems.
no,
I think genuinely Fraser and Tom Cruise have, and like they're going to continue and have a third, fourth wind career. They're gonna go on to do
yeah,
great things again and have that public eye love them again. And you fucked that up, Mr. Rossi. And that it's such a weird fucking year.
yeah,
Like so many odd choices. These are the
yeah.
glaring omissions though, and yeah, like strange.
So that concludes things, and we bring an end to the Razzies for 2022. And so yeah, that's an end to our contest. So 7-3 victory for
Oh,
Kyle.
absolute sweet.
Congratulations, my
Yeah,
friend.
no,
You're
think like
crowned as the king of the
gonna get my
Razzies.
Razzie. I can't wait. Yeah, thanks to Blonde and Pinocchio. I mean, there's not much diversity in terms of like film choices here. It's like five film until
Yeah.
the end, until it's worst supporting actress or
Don't be
the
modest.
fluff.
Don't be
But I'm
modest.
very happy, and I'll
Yeah.
pick the winning choice or the winner's choice.
Yeah. So our next episode is going to be Striptease, 1996's Striptease. We're going to do a little
Ooh,
striptease for you listeners. And after that, we are going to be recording one of our specials. Again, rhythm kind of thrown off with this
distance, yeah.
and recording out of sequence. But it's roughly about special time. And so for that, we are going to have a forfeit. So as the victor in our prediction game, Kyle will be selecting a movie which he is going to force me to watch. So join us in 2 weeks for that. In the meantime, it's Striptease. Thank you to everyone who contributed to the
Yeah,
show, and thank you to everyone who has been following
And
us.
then anyone else before you plug us in, if there's any other missions this year, I'm sure there's a few that have totally just gone under the radar that should be here. Please write in, let us know what you'd have picked.
Yeah,
Who's your redeemer? Who's your worst actress? Like, get the categories right that Mr. Razzie can't get right. And
yeah.
and watch Blonde as well. Um,
Watch Blonde and write to us at watchingworstfilms@gmail.com, which is where you can send all your correspondence, and you can find us on social media at Watching Worst. And so yeah, and then join us same time, same place next week as we head back to Striptease, which is already in the can, and it's a very weird movie.
Can't wait. Looking forward to listening to it. To be honest, I had a great time talking about it and watching it. And
Yeah.
96 is a beloved year for me. So if you want to listen to me ramble on about 1996, this is the episode for you. See
See
you
you
later,
then.
guys.